Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're having a non-shook kind of Friday, or if it's shook, I hope it's a good kind of shook because, as you all know, some earthquake happened today on a scale of 1.4.8 Richter scale in New York and in that region. So, for those of you that are affected, by that earthquake. I hope everything's okay. Hope everyone's healthy. But I'm going to use this moment to reflect on it and talk about how to avoid rat DTT in your life. Now, if you don't know what DTT is, it was at one point considered to be the most nastiest poison out there. And so I'm going to ask you, do you want to have poison in your life, or do you want to live a life of freedom, of choice, of non-boredom? How many of you have considered the fact that in the Western nation, everything's going downwards in terms of lifestyle, in terms of standard of living, in terms of cost affordability? Don't you understand that a lot of things are going in the opposite direction and things are not really the way that they should be? Now, if you actually accelerate that and you stay in the same path, then you're going to be caught in that maze like a rat, and you're going to be exposed to the DDT of your surroundings. Now, how do you get out of that? How do you get out of being caught in this DDT, in this poison called the rat poison? Discipline. That's right, it's discipline. Now I'm going to put this up here. It's discipline. Now this is me working out. Now there's no way that you can attain this kind of shape without discipline. And that's why I said discipline equals power. Now here's the thing. The opposite to discipline is boredom, extreme boredom. And a lot of you, and not a lot of you, every human, literally, the majority of humans, they hate the word discipline because they run away from it. They're like, oh, it requires a lot of work, requires a lot of non-relaxation type of activities. The majority of us human beings don't actually want to work. The majority of us actually just want to chill. They want to just do the 9 to 5 kind of mundane activities, turn the brain off. That's why we get really bothered when we need to go to work, because we don't want to exert the effort. It goes against our equilibrium, against our homeostasis. And that's counter to discipline. Now, what happens if you're not disciplined? You become incredibly bored. You become a boring person. Let's just say that. Truth is truth. You become a very boring person. You never progress. People don't actually look up to you. I mean, you just become a normal person like 95% of everyone else who lives a very normal, mundane, very boring type of lifestyle. And you end up being dragged along around whatever government that you're part of. And then you get exposed to DDT, which is the poison. So let's avoid that, shall we? I mean, if you don't want to avoid that, it's your choice. But I certainly don't. I certainly want to avoid that. So earthquake happened, 4.8 Richter scale. It's not super huge, but it's definitely not small. So it shook people, or people got shaken, whatever you want to say. And I want to use that as the opportunity for discussing discipline. Now, check this out. If you're living for the weekend, then you're not disciplined. If you're living for Friday, then you're not disciplined. I'm sorry. The wave of the rat race caught you, and you believe in the narrative that has been described to you in terms of what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and that Friday is the relaxation day. And I discussed to you before on another podcast that Friday should definitely be not a relaxation day, because the majority of people, if you're a competitive person, the majority of people do relax on Fridays. So if you are a competitive person, that is the day that you should not be relaxing. Now, Dr. Spinatti, Halim, what are you doing? Aren't you overexerting yourself? Aren't you going to be succumbed to the word burnout? Aren't you going to be burnt out? Now, here's the thing about burnout, and this is my philosophy when it comes to burnout. Burnout to me, are you ready for this? Burnout to me is a philosophical concept. It is not a physical one. So you can't actually physically say, I am burnt out. It's something that you think of. But here's the difference, and here's why I adopted this. It's because when you're playing any kind of sport and then you win, you're exhausted right before you win. You put in all your effort, all your energy right before you win. But then you win, and then all of a sudden, all that energy comes in. Where'd the energy come from? I thought you were burnt out. I thought you were tired. But the energy is literally created out of nothing. That's why, to me, burnout doesn't mean anything. Burnout is just it's an admission of you giving up. It's an admission of you saying, I don't feel like doing something. And like I discussed to you before, saying I don't feel like doing something is not really an option, is it? So here's the thing. Because by saying that, you've admitted loss. There's a book out, and it discusses a lot of these concepts. This is where I got all these ideas from, by the way. So there's a quote in that book that says that someone that has messy surroundings, someone that has a messy surroundings and an untidy life, is suffering from metaphysical and psychological ruin. So you're psychologically not well, and you're metaphysically, meaning spiritually, not well. If your surroundings, meaning your room, your house, your environment, is messy and untidy. So you have to examine yourself. I mean, everyone should examine themselves and really ask themselves, am I in an untidy and messy environment, or should I do a little bit of cleanup? Because without it, you're not going to be disciplined. Now, as it says here, raising your energy requires discipline. It requires you to be consistent into something. And negativity should be looked at as something of an experience. Now, we've been taught over and over again, that negativity is something that shouldn't be taken as a lesson. It should be taken as something that's demoralizing. What a concept. What a concept. Instead of actually looking at negativity and saying, hey, this is life, and life is supposed to teach me certain things. And the only way for me to learn is for me to experience things that hurt. We run away from that because we've been taught that you shouldn't. And we're chasing after something called hedonism. And we're chasing after something called pleasure. And we want this dopamine hit over and over again. And that's what we've been trained. We've been trained like what? Yes, I'm going to say it, like rats. Because rats, that's what they look for. They look for dopamine hits. They look for something, that pellet. They go around and they sniff. They're sniffing for whatever it is that's going to give them that pleasure. And I mean, what are we different then if we're actually we have the same type of reactionary, same type of chase as rats do? We're looking for that dopamine hit. Then how can you consider yourself a human being? Well, in order for you to consider yourself a proper human being, then discipline is absolutely required. Because without discipline, you're going to really adopt this mentality called the victim triangle, or the victim mindset. And the victim mindset is very, very easy to avoid. It's called discipline. The victim mindset basically says that you are looking for someone to rescue you. That's what you're looking for. Okay, you're looking for someone to rescue you. No one's going to come to rescue you. No one's going to come and touch your shoulder and heal you. It's not going to happen. Sorry to break it to you. It's not going to happen. And those people that are adopting the victim mindset, well, they're thinking that someone's going to come and rescue them, and they're just waiting for that moment. That's never going to happen, by the way. And so then they're thinking, because no one's coming to rescue them, they're thinking everyone's persecuting them. Everyone's after them. That's the triangle. That's the victim triangle. So, and the only way to escape that is by you focusing on being disciplined, by you doing the uncomfortable things. So without discipline, then your mind can't be controlled, i.e. you're going to become depressed and sad and all that negative garbage, and you're always going to be a victim. So what do? What is it that you can do? Well, be disciplined. Pick something in which you want to be disciplined in. And the easiest and fastest thing for you to be disciplined in anything is, drumroll please, training, nutrition, and sleep. That is the easiest way. So, my friends, my lovely comrades, my lovely people who are watching this, whether you're watching this now or watching this later, you know, the one thing that's really cool is that every time I bump into someone, they always tell me that I've been watching your podcast. But yet, like, I don't see that because, I see, whoever is on right now, I see whoever's live, but I don't see people who aren't, right? I mean, there's people on Facebook, people on YouTube, and I don't see those people on LinkedIn, and, people are watching. And then after this thing airs, people are watching. So I feel even more responsible to deliver something that is of value, that something is perhaps going to spark something in your brain, maybe a 0.1% that is going to be like, maybe I should even think about this. Well, think about this. Okay, think about this, that without discipline, your mind is not going to be controllable. You're always going to be out of control in your mind. You're always going to be sleeping and always going to be thinking of things because you can't put your mind to rest. I mean, I'm quoting because that's what we all say. You know, my mind is racing. Yeah, you know why it's racing? Because you're always on your phone and you're always looking at something that's stimulating your mind and not actually providing something of substance. That's why your mind is racing. That's why, because you don't have enough time to solve problems in your life. So your mind is always going to be racing. You can't control your mind without discipline. So discipline is going to save you. It's going to save you also from being the quote unquote very semi-depressed person who's just looking for dopamine in order for them to feel happy. And the easiest way for you to start becoming disciplined is for you to be disciplined with those three things that are on the screen right now: nutrition, sleep, and training. You can't escape it. I'm sorry. McDonald's lovers, this is for you. Okay. For those of you that love McDonald's, stop eating McDonald's. It's a bad company. It's a terrible company. At one point, it used to be good. Now it's terrible. It stands for nothing good. And I'm not going to go there, but stop eating junk food. It's not good. So, training, nutrition, and sleep. Conquer those three, and your life will never be the same again. May you be disciplined and always happy. Keep smiling. Good night.